are the, we don't offer the bells and whistles, but we still achieve, we still perform as a district. So sometimes it's harder to make that argument at a state level or even a regional level, because we do so well, even though we're caught in this school-age children bubble. So, I think we've done really well. We aren't seeing personnel cuts that really turn my stomach to think about, but we are facing down in the next couple of years some pretty severe challenges, and this year I think we've covered ourselves, but it's just the beginning.
I agree.
Somehow we have this conversation every year.
It does seem quite familiar, doesn't it?
And it does seem
Deja
like
vu.
it's always sliding from where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
And there's a limit to how far you can slide before you fall off the edge.
What I'd like to do is try to figure out if we can take what we're getting this year from the state and kind of model that for year 2 and 3, and then factor in the increases and all that, because, and that's great that we're talking about all this and we're sacrificing. The reality is we're not getting the money in the town. There's no extra income coming in. Maybe it's a sewage issue. Maybe we're not a desirable town to open up a business in. Whatever it is, we can't compare ourselves anymore with other towns and what their income is and where they're rated. We have to look at the end of the year. We've got to look at our budget number. It doesn't matter what any other town is doing or what any other state is. And the fact is that we don't know next year if we're $1 million short.
Right.
And that scares me a little bit. And if it's all salary based, then that's where it is. So we either cut teachers next year, or we cut their salaries, or whatever it is, or we negotiate something even more aggressive, whether it's, you can keep everyone and you lose 2 years off a contract, or you start cutting teachers. But that's the reality next year, because it's not gonna go up next year, it's gonna go down again. But our costs are gonna go up. So,
Well,
Okay.
that's the reality every year.
Yeah.
The difficulty is that the funding formulas at the state are recognized as being inadequate. They're not only inadequate from the establishment of the foundation budget, which is recognized as being about 30% deficient as far as supporting education in today's world. We're also hampered by the fact that our particular town is affected by the fact that we're looked on as being a wealthy community, and that works against us. So we have things working against us in the way the formula for dispersion of Chapter 70 funding comes down. Those things need to be fixed, and there's a study that's due out actually December 11th of this year that will perhaps see some changes in, but that probably isn't something we're going to see next year either, is it? Things don't move that fast. It's a difficult
I mean,
spot.
I think some of the proactive things we can do is, I'm not sure how many grants we've written in 2011 yet, but we can start to mobilize the grant writing teams. We can also, whatever happened to that funding group that was supposed to come out that was kind of like a trust.
Oh, the
The
Endowment
Educational
group.
Association?
yeah.
So those parents can get involved in trying to get that endowment group that assists in paying for teacher salaries or whatever it is. It can pay for a lot of things that maybe we're coming up short in. But, and I understand we're tight and the state's formulas aren't right. At the end of the day, we've got to come up with this budget. And the thing is, we can be more proactive with this. And maybe we can get the science
The problem
program funded by a grant or by a company, by Raytheon down the street or something. I don't know. And we gotta look out.
Our demographics don't give us very much of an advantage from a grant funding standpoint. We're looked on as we're already taken care of from the
Not
grant
by
standpoint.
companies,
What do we
By
do?
companies,
We do.
maybe.
We don't have
Private sectors.
assigned or a grant writing position. However, we have
No, we do not.
teachers, department heads,
We don't have
administrators.
department
But those are the people who write the grants, who apply for grants, correct? Is that how it works?
Well, typically it would be someone from the central office that would
work toward looking at what grants are out there that we are eligible for. And some of them require certain demographic criteria. Others are very narrow in the focus, and we have to make sure that that fits into the direction that we're working toward as far as this district is concerned. But there are websites. One of them is called Grants Alert, and I check it very regularly. And they're foundation grants, corporation grants, as well as state and federal grants. We already apply for all the state and federal grants for
But
which we are eligible. It's
but-
the foundation grant.
I think Michael's point, and I know we've worked with Teradyne in the past, and you know, I'm not exactly sure how you reach out to those businesses, especially in a time when businesses aren't doing great. But you know, Teradyne's probably not going to fund $100,000 a year for a science project, but they might fund 10 or 20,000 for something. And I don't know. I know we don't have anybody assigned. There's no position in the administration right now that handles that. Correct?
But I can tell you that this notion that Michael brought up around the Education Foundation, I have worked with an Education Foundation in the past. It's a very important organization to act as a conduit for applying for grants and assisting the administration and the educators in accessing money and earmarking money for particular projects, such as technology
Right.
or science education. If those are our priorities in the district, and they are, then that money would be earmarked in that direction. So it would be great if we could jumpstart the Education Foundation for North Reading.
But unfortunately, that's outside of our realm.
Yes, it is.
As a school committee and as the administration,
Yes,
we
it is.
can't do anything related to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting. Don't we collect some kind of stats at the school level of what does your parent do? Are they a lawyer? Are they a doctor? What companies they work for? There's got to be something
I don't know.
where we.
I would
formally
hate it
do
if we
that.
did that.
Do we have that kind of information?
It used to be on part of the health record. I'm not sure if.
Yeah, that gets into murky territory I do not want us to open, or I will have a field day with it. So let's not do that. Privacy.
But I think
No, but why couldn't we find out what company your parents work in and start at that grant level?
I think
Because
that's
that's an
I think
invasion
that's
of-
an invasion of
It's
privacy.
an invasion of, but here, if we're gonna talk really about the topic of finding other sources of money, which are soft sources of money that aren't sustainable in general, then that goes into the level of grassroots activism and building coalitions outside of that. There are groups that do that, but what we're saying is there's a systemic issue that is not gonna be addressed by that. The gap couldn't possibly be covered over the next couple of years. We haven't even begun to think about recovering from where we were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. We have not looked at that restore group that we had talked about earlier in the year
Right.
in the budget process of what would we look to restore. Even though it's important to think about that, it's going to take a lot of effort to chase down soft sources of money through businesses. I mean, there are a lot of businesses in town, but our tax base is what, 11-12%, Jerry?
Oh, 13 or
13.
14%.
Oh, it's more than that. I mean, we're doing a lot, but it takes a concerted effort, and it takes more than saying that's what we should do. We have to do it as a group, as a community, to work on that. And the school committee's purview is not really to do that, but I think individually we're all pretty active. And there are other folks in town who are also active and actively looking for these types of avenues. I think, when we went to the Batchelder School and saw the innovation in science with, I think it was Toshiba, and that,
Right.
there are companies that are more global that come in. There's some that sponsor scholarships for high school, Coca-Cola, etc. But when it comes to, businesses in town, they're small businesses. There aren't really huge
When we look at
corporations.
businesses in town. What about Holt Mifflin down on Boylston Street or Addison
What is their
Wesley?
stake? What is their buy-in
Well,
to
Holt Mifflin-
participate into the community? It starts here. It doesn't come from outside.
No,
It
yeah, we have
starts
to start
here.
it here. I agree. We have to start it here because I hate to see Houghton Mifflin go all the way across the country to California to try out a new book format or a technology format.
Well, I think
We're in their backyard.
a key thing here is, at some point, I thought there was some momentum behind the Education Foundation.
There was.
Education foundations are extremely effective in a lot of districts in this state. I don't know if they have one in Triton. I'm familiar with the one in Boxford in the Masconomet area. They raise tons of money and they buy tons of things for those schools every year. If we had an education foundation in a couple of years, we'd have money to do things with. And now, we can't, they direct us but we talk to them about, geez, here's some areas where we're short of funding. Now you decide what you want to do with it. Now, the other thing is, and this was a big topic this week on the Mask mail serve list, was, do you spend money, private funds, on personnel? Does your district do that? And some districts said yes. Some districts said no. I think it's a dangerous precedent because while it can be good for a few years, if you're a big supporter of a program and then your kid leaves the school and you pull your money out, the program goes away. But I think it's something, at this point, I think it's something that we have to think about. I really do. I don't support it 100%,
I don't support it at all.
but I think we got to consider it.
I think we need to
But to
address
get
the
back to
root
Mike's
cause.
original point, we don't necessarily have to go around soliciting companies, but we should probably maybe have the administrative team make it part of their function to at least explore or see what's out there. You know, if there are grants available at various companies, whether it's Houghton Mifflin or someplace else, we should at least, it's like the various scholarships that are available for your kid when they're getting ready to go to college. There's all kinds out there. You gotta go look for them.
Right.
You don't have people create them. They're there. You just gotta find them and apply for them the right way and see if you can get. And we've gone over this before. I mean, for Cal knows, I mean, the last 10 or 12 years, every once in a while, this whole grant writing thing comes up. And I think people think there's all kinds of money to just grab out there, but there isn't. But still, somebody should be at least looking.
Well, wasn't that part of your, isn't that part of your
It was my
job at
job.
Triton? That was your job, right?
It was my job.
So,
I was a full-time assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction and assessment, so grant writing was one of my responsibilities. And I
but
was
you
able-
don't have as much time, I'm sure, to do that these days
No.
as you did back
I
then.
think it underscores somebody has to do it, and if we
Right.
don't have anybody to do it, it just becomes moot. We go back to the same issue. This is a systems challenge.
Right, there is,
that we need to
a lot
deal
of
with.
schools have a lot of school districts have grant writers. Just like they have HR, heads of human
I write grants
resources,
all
and they
the
have
time.
PR directors, and they have
It's not
website
easy.
administrators, and
But we should still see, even if we can find them, if it's worth putting somebody on it to do something with it, then, you know.
Here's a radical idea. Why don't we just start a subcommittee to do business development? To do community outreach. I mean, I'm hearing it, let's do this, somebody should do this. We have to do it. If it's that important to us, then we could do that during our reorg.
That's an education or.
I'm just saying what everyone is not talking about.
Yeah. It's something to think about. I think it's something we have to be careful about, but I think we need to figure out how to get some wind behind this education foundation.
I agree.
We really do. And we can't organize it, we can't be members of it, as administration and school board, but I think that's what we know some of the players involved, so I think we can start just seeing what's going on there. Good
Time to
points
vote.
though, Mike.
We gotta vote on that.
Yeah, so just so everybody's clear, what I'm gonna recommend is that we cut from small cap and textbooks $37,774, from school expenses $98,103, and from district-wide professional development $30,000, for a total of $165,877, and that we vote tonight to approve a budget of $24,031,464.
Is that the motion?
The
or-
motion is to
Okay.
approve a budget of $24,031,000.
Well, you're not making the motion, you're recommending
Right.
that, right? So
Amount of
somebody,
money, it's the preliminary budget above available funds. What you just read was from the town, Mel?
Right, and isn't that the,
I don't think that's the right number.
Kyle with the additional circuit breaker.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll look for motion to approve a budget of $24,197,341.
move to approve a fiscal year 2012 budget of $24,197,341.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Reluctantly, if we're an I vote.
Okay. Anything else? $24,197,341.